Now live.
Hey everybody, welcome to a very special Holiday X's for Show, where we're going to be talking about a holiday gift we kind of never thought we'd be getting. I'm Nico, and you can check me out at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION.
Jonah, go next because you're in frame.
Hi, I'm in frame, and I'm Jonah. You can follow me everywhere at Peak Jonah. That's P-E-A-K.
And I don't know what Nico's talking about. I thought that was a gift that would be coming. So I'm TK, and apparently I can predict the future like a genius man future predictor person.
Who's handsome? Don't forget handsome.
And such the wordsmith at that. I guess that leaves me as your producer, Kev O'Reilly, and we are here to talk about What If and a whole bunch of other awesome animated features that are rounding out our 2023. Shout out, of course, to some of our fans already in the audience. Hey, Tori, donning her gay apparel.
Gay
Hey,
Tori.
Tasty Cake. Good to
Tori,
see you as always.
my gay apparel is this hat whose brim is exactly green screen green. So
that feeds into Tori's thing. You're the watcher. You're
I am the watcher.
yeah.
I see everything through this bill that green screens me through to other realities, and therefore I could
Hold on.
easily have predicted that they'd do a What If Christmas special, so it'd probably release sometime around Christmas.
Hold on, number one.
What?
It's just a bill. It's only a bill. And it's just sitting there on capital your face. So, well. Number
On
one,
a cap that is chill.
Can it pay my bills? Can it pay my automobiles?
your telephone bills.
And maybe it could chill.
I have never known how to chill. So the thing that oh god, you all seemed so sad.
Well, we weren't going to deny it.
That's the smartest thing you can do. The thing that I thought that we were never going to get was season 2 of What If, which they were so
Yes.
eager not to put on the schedule. They made an art, a meal, if you would, out of being What If deniers. This was basically birther game.
Well, I don't.
What If
Did
schedule.
we just have a very different experience of? For one thing, they told us like day 3 that they had already done the full other season.
Right, in 2021, and then chose
it's
to
been
literally
2
say literally nothing for
years.
2022 until November, when they said, by the way, all 9 episodes.
My assumption was always that this would hang out until exactly this moment when they realized, oh shit,
I'm
we make too much
blown-
material.
blown away that
and-
you predicted a one-of-a-kind schedule they've never done before.
No, because it was very clear they were starting to produce too much stuff, and that they would not be able to put the brakes on in like a progressive way. So we would get exactly what we got, which was an announcement that like, you're not getting anything for a while. No movies. You're getting one movie. And I obviously didn't know 2024 specifically, but I did think we would get to a point where there would just be a coming lack of stuff. And What If would be the perfect thing to release because it was already done. And it was like, you know, it's just because it also doesn't matter. I love it, but it doesn't matter.
I completely disagree that's why it got released here. I think it got released here with 1 day left in a calendar cycle because of tax breaks on
That also is probably a big factor.
yeah.
I don't
Huge.
think it had to do with, oh wow, we have a gap in the schedule. I think it had to do with we don't want to pay the state of Georgia back.
That is probably a huge factor. Yes.
I think this was definitely, we sat on something for too long because we were really hoping to navigate the multiverse a little differently. And man, I'm happy. I liked season 2. My cantankery is at the treatment of season 2 being handled like the spin-off version of an animated show where they've already abandoned the toy line before the show starts. This felt like a revamp where nobody gave a shit about the potential. So even though there was excellent storytelling, beautiful quality, and a developed sense of story, what we got was an underwhelming media rollout for a project that it seemed like Marvel completely forgot.
You and I have been talking a lot, so I'm going to see if anybody else wants to say anything before I interrupt.
What do you think, Captain JoJo?
I think, in general, What If should, as a title, should be something fun. Because it's, as the name suggests, what if, blah, 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 throw a bunch of darts and see what sticks on the board.
Wait, is that what the What If stands? Is that what it's for?
No.
Oh, okay.
Shush.
But I thought a couple of these episodes maybe didn't ring the best for me because I didn't really feel too. I feel like they didn't really answer some of the episodes didn't answer the most interesting questions. Like, as much as I enjoyed the appearances of the people there, I don't know if I particularly care about Happy getting the Hulk serum. Like, it's fun to watch that, but I wasn't really overjoyed. I don't really know if I enjoyed the Peter episode or really the Iron Man episode. There were a couple of them that just felt not interesting enough questions for me for what I personally like. For what I like, and the one that I thought was the most interesting was the Hela episode. But even that one, I take umbrage with the title because Hela didn't find the 10 rings. That's not what that was about at all. It's what if Hela finds freedom?
Get that.
What if Hela
really get that.
becomes her own person, not defined by her father or the role that was set forth for her? It was a very interesting production choice to call this Hela finds the 10 rings, but she doesn't actually use them.
Especially because it doesn't matter. Nobody is going to watch or not watch this episode, 9 episodes in, based on a good or bad title. You're either already definitely watching this, or you were like, they could have called it Hela just has her boobies out for 30 minutes, and you would have not gotten any more or less viewers. It was such a weird choice.
I'm so sorry. I'm laughing hysterically because once TK and Jonah were talking and the way they were saying Hela, I could not stop thinking hella good.
Oh, you're obsessed with Gwen Stefani right now.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Ooh,
He's in his
I'm
workout.
going to the multiverse. I'm Gwen Stefani. Ooh.
Don't blast me, scary Doctor Strange. Ooh. I know.
I like the idea. I'm into this, but I'm more for what if Hela got a Harajuku entourage to follow her around.
Also, I feel like Gwen Stefani is a little bit more Captain Marvel because that's where she was featured. But yeah, no, I'm sometimes his nurse, and that is what it is.
What if the Pope had refused to give Gwen Stefani an annulment for a 20-year marriage? Because that's fucking insane.
Ooh, help me, Mr. Pope, annul me.
Thanks, Mr. Priestman. What are we talking about? We're gonna lose so many followers.
We need your thoughts on what if.
I really do see and agree with a lot of where Nico is coming from. As Tori pointed out in the comments, if she didn't have this channel's social media, she wouldn't have even known that this was dropping. I have felt since the first season was airing, like What If was already a project that they sort of didn't really put all of their faith behind. I think they enjoyed the elements from it that they enjoyed, such as Marvel Zombies getting an animated series, theoretically, and the amount of Captain Carter that we have gotten outside of this project, as well as in season 2. It's been pretty crazy. So there definitely are a lot of elements from this that people are drawn to. But on the whole, there's stuff from this that they referenced in season 2 from season 1 that I had no idea what they were talking about at times. I kind of remembered, and I just sort of rolled with it when I was like, oh, yeah, that was probably something, and that's fine. Go ahead, Nico.
No, I was going to say exactly, yes, exactly, yeah. I was just going to be super agreement.
I didn't really love this drop system. I felt like an episode a day eventually became exhausting. like, because we had to keep up with it for this show, but also as a fan, if you want to be keeping up with it, it's. Sorry, I have ADHD.
That's all good. I was like, I shouldn't post this now, but I also don't want to forget.
No,
Yeah, no,
but
it's
I
all
agree
good.
with you. There's a difference of dropping something completely in one go and then you just kind of binge it, or you drop it weekly like we do with regular television, and you have that time in between to discuss, to talk about, think about what the episode was. Doing it daily does create this sort of pressure where you might feel obligated to have to keep watching every single day if you want to be kept up with. Otherwise, you might face spoilers. And some people are particular about spoilers. Some people care about them. Some people don't. Whatever your preference is, a daily drop system might not work for you if you don't want to watch every single day.
Oh no, by all means, DK.
I don't hate a daily drop. It's this show is so weird. Like, at last the MCU knows what the comics feel like. People put their whole heart and souls into a project that has so much promise and potential, and here comes Marvel not giving a single fuck or putting anything behind it and just relying entirely on fan response. And even if you are the most galvanized fan, even if you're 4 people with a platform and a voice that want to really talk this thing up, Marvel will still somehow find a way to say, it's kind of an underwhelming response, I guess we don't have to do another one.
People put their whole what if pussy into this.
100%.
They're not getting that fanfare back.
And part of it is that, like, with what if, just if we're gonna go with your what if pussy, I'm gonna take it all the way and say,
wouldn't it be a Watusi?
The Batusi. I'm looking for like a mother to drag her. And look, I love me some Captain Carter, but Captain Carter is Lucy LaDuca.
You love Lucy LaDuca, so that might not be the metaphor you want to use.
Let him cook. How so?
She is anyone who is a fierce fighter who just won't die. But what she is not is Rue. And the Watcher, my friends, is at best Santino on a diet. This is
the Watcher looks like Rue.
To boil it down without the metaphor, though, she's not the entire show. This is not What If featuring Captain Carter. This is What If, and some elements of this are starting to feel very serialized, and I really get that. How much of this is Peggy's show all of a sudden?
I mean, that's the thing that kind of came out of that first season, was that there was such a good response to Captain Carter. It's very weird. There's a very positive response to Captain Carter from like a certain part of fandom, and then there's a really ugly response from another part. And I don't hate the idea of the serialized element being really Captain Carter focused.
Okay.
I maybe would at this point spin it off. I maybe would have spun it off at the end of season 1. I really like the idea that there is a Steve variant, a Captain America variant, a person that isn't Captain Britain, that isn't just what if it was a girl, but what if this person with a comparable origin story went in a totally different direction. But then it does kind of like, after a few adventures that are seeded with Peggy all throughout, when we get to things like Hela and the Ten Rings, probably my favorite episode, or Kahhori, then I don't want to do Peggy serialized stories anymore on this show. I want to watch them on their own show that I'll watch on my own time. But this one, I would like to go back to the original concept of like different what ifs, different multiverse strains every time.
It almost felt like this season was the back pilot to the Captain Carter series that I know is eventually coming out.
Yeah.
And there's nothing inherently wrong with the idea of a backdoor pilot, but I don't know if it was specifically the place to do it here. What if asks a very, I think the concept of what if is ask a very specific question, view that universe as to how this question would pan out. but Captain Carter getting as much focus, as much as I can enjoy the character, doesn't feel in spirit to what If is. Now, I do kind of, after Nico kind of explained how in the 1602 universe, that is supposed to be actual our 616 Steve Rogers who was supposed to appear there. So putting Peggy there makes, I like as a nod to that, but it's still, I don't know if it's in the spirit of the question of what if. It just feels like it's kind of, we're looking at two different shows right now.
Kevo, I see you got a thing.
I really like Jonah using the phrase backdoor pilot, because that is a really strong sense that I got from a number of the episodes this season. And I think that is a strong difference between season 1 and 2. For as much as I did really enjoy season 2, a lot more than 1, a lot of these episodes really did feel like, look at this really awesome team that could have really awesome adventures, but none of these are actually pilots. These are just episodes of a TV show that exists. So we're not going to get, we shouldn't theoretically get any more of this. And like Jonah said, this show is really supposed to be more, let's ask a question and then answer what would happen if that happened. And instead it frequently feels like we're getting a lot of little pilots.
And I think that's the problem with going so genre heavy on a lot. Like, and you get it from episode 1 of this season with the police procedural of what if Nova were, or what if Nebula were in the Nova Corps, because it feels very much like, hey, would you guys be into that? Like, if we did a show with the Nova Corps, that would you watch? We could do it.
Real quick, Tori asks, did the comics What If ever backdoor pilot to a comic title?
Tori, did they ever?
Tori, there's a little book that featured a little woman,
just a small woman, just
itty bitty woman, named Spider Girl in a What If, and we might have done 50.
It's the most time I've dedicated in my life to anything, including college.
Yes.
So, every once in a while, a What If will produce the most important piece of comic writing in a decade or two. Who can say? Yeah, what ifs, but in the comics, you have a lot more room to futz around. Another big problem here is there has only really been a few animated series where I have said, I will wait the 2 decades it takes to produce a season. One of the big ones is Arcane, the League of Legends animated show on Netflix. I think it's one of the greatest animated shows ever made. It is taking them probably 4 to 6 years to produce a season. That's a huge bummer, but it works. It's okay. That's one that I'll wait for. These, in a positive way, I say this as positively as possible, these are a little cheap. These are a little, the concept should be a bunch of writers and producers literally threw stuff at a wall. They threw darts at ideas and names and then produced the episode. But I would like this 1 a year easy, maybe like 6 at the start of the year, 6 at the end of the year. And then I would feel a little bit more okay about them being all over the place in terms of some being totally genre and feeling like backdoor pilots, and some feeling like, televised versions of What Ifs from Marvel Comics. But as it stands, they are so rare and treated like this is as big a deal in some ways as a movie or one of the big shows like a Loki or a WandaVision, that to get so little out of it, and to have the so little that you get out of it be like, well, if you guys tell us you love Kahhori enough, we might give her another episode or an appearance in a comic. We might let Darcy Little Badger write one unlimited book about her that we will never advertise. It feels a little icky for event television, for what is, they're trying to present as event television.
I really loved something you said as well, just about the volume of it. And it's something I'd said earlier today that I almost forgot. But like, if it had been 5 episodes instead of 9, I might have felt a little bit differently about how many episodes they dropped out all at once. But it's just that 9 days specifically was over a week. That was a lot to keep track of and keep forgetting. But like 5 days in a row, I could have been more on board with something like that.
Well, and and one of the things that I want to comment on is, as much as you're saying that like some of these episodes felt maybe a little bit cheap, part of what a lot of these episodes sought to do was to encapsulate an idea of imagination. And part of that imagination sometimes means that it's sort of like caveat emptor, or maybe it's a little bit your mileage may vary. And so I found myself like flustered by the lack of information I would get from some episodes. Like, I understand the boilerplate you're giving me with what if Nebula joined the Nova Corps. I almost said Nova Corps. The Nova Corps, where she...
Different spinoff.
Night Court, Nova Court series you've just changed the game, but we'll talk later.
Karen Gillan would kill.
I'm in. By Kieran Gillen and Karen Gillan. And,
yes.
The big thing for me is that episode promised me a lot of ideas based on understanding a trope and applying characters to those tropes. I sort of think that's a little bit cheap. Now, I think there were episodes like the Hela episode and the finale and very much the 1602 episode that played to me a little bit more Nessun Dorma than, Horty and the Blowfish. But I found myself eager for so many of the holes to be filled in that it almost made it clear to me as a viewer that I am just waiting on the either Infinity comic, the YouTube short, whatever tie-in product it is that's going to mean that Target is going to get a limited run of action figures for each one of these characters.
Yeah. Exactly what you said. It feels like there's just mechanics at work.
Mechanics, what a great word. Thank you.
And they're just outside your vision, because of course we don't know everything. And so you're trying to focus on this show, and you can't help but think to yourself, like, okay, but my eye keeps getting dragged over to this thing I'm not able to see, which is all of your weird little plans that kind of prevent me from just being like, this is a show, and taking it at face value.
And that for me is the challenge. Like I see Cyborg said in the chat, should Disney do a what if, but base it on Disney's own IPs? Now, that to me is a little bit more like what Marvel did with the Infinity Warps, where they took two really distinct ideas and crossed them together. I would love that. I would love Marvel mashups. That would be a really exciting show. I would love the 10-minute webisodes of that. That would be brilliant. But I feel like one of the things that a what if is meant to do is to tie into the things you wish were there. So when we were watching this, there were moments where I went, oh my God, it's going to be what if this thing? And I would guess a thing and then it wouldn't be the thing. When they fought Thanos in the season finale and he snapped and disappeared, I went, oh my God, he snapped himself. What if Thanos snapped himself? And then that wasn't what happened. It was Killmonger snapped Thanos from off panel. And
I even had a different what if. I was like, what if a Thanos snapped another Thanos? And again, it still wasn't that.
I also was like, Thanos snapped another Thanos. I thought that was so cool. It wasn't even not cool that Killmonger did it. But
it's Thanos what was saying, yeah.
When it's so chaotic that you have a Thanos snapping a Thanos, like that's the dual thing. They introduce these episodes where it's like, you just told us that 25 cool things might happen in the next 10 minutes, and then none of those things happen, and they don't give you 25 cool things to replace the ones that you can imagine.
It is the worst blind boxing possible. There are 12 cool things that might be in this box, but one of them might be Zombie Hydra Cap. Oh no, you got Zombie Hydra Cap.
Oh, sorry. No, you're not.
That they couldn't give us any gimmies, no, MCU Namor, no mutants. I get that we're probably not getting, like, that the mutants isn't the most reasonable thing, but in a world of what if, in a world where, you're not going to answer almost any weird question that you get, that they wouldn't throw out something that would make fans say, like, never seen that character before, so cool to have them here, and instead would just be like, it's a reference to itself from 10 episodes ago. I mean, it's fun. Like that Killmonger was cool, and the fact that Peggy got the armor was cool, but definitely not as cool as Thanos just snapped himself, or another Thanos snapped a Thanos, because there were two Thanoses in this insane room.
Yeah.
I want to know who was listening to, like, you know, Maximum 90s Club Dance Mix, and they were like,
it was me. I was listening to it.
Great. So your thought was, if Thanos snaps, he's got the power.
It's 10 past midnight.
Well, I got the powers by snap. So it's just it's meant to be.
Well, the Power Rangers just come in, and it's fine.
And also, if Crystal Waters,
I was hoping you would make a Crystal Waters reference.
If she was going to be in this, I just want to be clear, she would be the glove. Because without her, no glove, no love.
Also, I mean, I think Thanos is homeless. He's homeless.
I believe he is, you know, a form of evil that we no longer give him a home choice.
Exactly.
He's too evil to have.
I didn't say how he got homeless. I'm just saying it works.
He became housing insecure. You're just saying that he is.
How did we get here?
Well, that's even a great thing, you know, to bring up. Thanos is barely in this. In place of characters like Thanos that we came to recognize as huge parts of the early era of the Marvel Universe, or characters like Kang, who so heavily predominate the later eras of the Marvel Universe, we get Happy fucking Hogan as the Freak. Say chic.
That was a choice.
And yeah, I'm into it. Because we need more. Yeah, I mean, just Vogue at me. Like, we need more grimace looking motherfuckers. But one of the things about turning Happy Hogan into a Dragon Ball Z character is that it did put us in a position to analyze what makes up the Marvel Universe. Is Happy Hogan really a Hulk because he is a Hulk potential character? Or is it Jon Favreau was home and has a studio? And if Gwyneth Paltrow hadn't been so busy being, you know, Goop Queen. Oh. Okay, I like Gwyneth Paltrow. Oh, starring in that opera about her ski incident. I think that maybe it would have been, I'm Pepper Potts, the Pepper Hulk. Oh, buy this $1,000 t-shirt. Oh, vagina candle.
She smashes you into the ground and then says, I forgive you.
She consciously uncoupled from her Hulk self. And it turns out lights would not guide her home. The annulment from the Pope. They did, in fact, get a Pope annulment. What a dark stream of consciousness. How did you guys feel about the I almost said Harry Hamlin, the Happy Hogan of it all? Don't you talk about my Happy Hogan.
So first off, that's the what if that we need. What if Lisa Rinna and Harry Hamlin were the Wasp and Ant-Man? You
guys are making jokes, but if a multiverse is real, then there is a 100% possibility that we can have Lisa Rinna come in as the Black Widow at some point.
No, she's got to be the Wasp, and Harry Hamlin is Ant-Man.
The Black Widow.
That's right. Yes,
she is the Black Widow.
What do you got?
I said the Hasselhoff.
Yes.
Exactly. Which I wish they would bring him back for a little multiversal jaunt too. The Christmas one was really fun. I wish the Christmas one was a 10th. I wish the Christmas one was specifically just a Christmas fun special, and we had gotten one more episode to be another real what if one, because it was really there for two purposes. One, so that when Hulk Happy appears two more times, you already get the point of the joke. And then two, because it's Christmas.
This wasn't a what if so much as a this never actually happened, but it could have. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's mostly our universe. It's
Right.
just this didn't happen.
Right, exactly. And that's, Kevo, that's such an important point. A lot of what ifs, like what ifs really should be, nothing like this happened in the reality we know. And how cool to think about, rather than this is exactly it, less one minor change that allows us. And it's especially not great when it's a thing where you're like, oh, they're using the joke two more times. Okay, so this was just for the joke. But I'm into the season now, so give me a Christmas episode. Stoked about it. It's just a whole what if. Christmas is already a theme. It can't be Christmas what if. It's either got to be what if or it's got to be Christmas.
No, I can. No, I'm gonna defend it actually, but for a good legitimate reason here. I am so tired of sloppy Christmas programming. I am tired of saying, "Oh, he meets 3 ghosts, and one is old, one is his age, and one is young." There you go. It's Christmas Carol. Shut up. Have a good day. Yeah, I am so tired of Twink Daddy and that pushy otter at the bar, and so I really do.
I just said otters are pusher.
I really
felt red.
Red. I do really feel like one of the things that you need to do with a Christmas themed episode is you need to ask yourself, what does this allow for the universe? How does this push it? If this had been a one and done Christmas episode where there were no deeper repercussions, I would agree with you. It's deeply unfulfilling and it kind of left me in a shrug. But that we saw the continued idea of the Freak Happy really felt like it provided me an outlet as to why this was the story this season, this episode, this time.
Okay. I mean, I don't not buy it. I just, I think it's weird. I'm on my side and Kevo's side, and on a different side. Like I think they should have had 10 to 12 episodes prepped for a 6 and 6, or 5 and 5, or a 6 and 6. Because I do want more. I think crank this isn't good enough to not be crank out material. But don't give it to me all at once.
Sky Racers, but it's not, Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's okay.
Yeah, which Avatar had more episodes in a year. I mean, I simply don't believe that they can't be making more of this, but also putting it on a schedule that this is exactly the stuff that can keep MCU interest and fandom afloat during the times when there should only be one movie a year, when there should be limited live series that are staggered, properly promoted, and, really given time to breathe. Content like this is good cheap, but I'm having a little trouble buying everything about it when it is so like event TV is something I said before, that it's event TV. And I hate saying that because the Kahhori episode, the Hella episode, the 1602 episode, those feel really special and big and really exciting to me. But I don't think they're exciting if I feel like I had to wait 3 years for them and I'm going to wait for 3 more for the next thing of them. It's a tough spot to be in.
I'm really glad that there is already a teaser and a preview for season 3, so that it's already confirmed that it is going to be coming. But so was the fact that they released a toy based on the episode that did not air until the day after Christmas this year. So, dang. I don't care that you released a 3-minute clip. That the episode that aired on Christmas Day, with the Grandmaster and Tony Stark, that was part of the original batch.
Marvel Cart.
Marvel Cart was a holdover, and they actually had released a Lego toy when season 1 came out because it was supposed to be part of the release, and they had to be like, oops, sorry, it's not done. And I get why. When you watch it, the animation on that must have been hell. But, it took over 2 years for that to come out then. And so I'm not necessarily going to assume we are getting the rest of the next set of What If in 2024, or unfortunately even 2025. I hope we get it soon, because I agree. I think this is something that you really could churn a lot of good stuff out from.
Jonah, how are you feeling about What If Season 2? You know, I know that there were a number of episodes that felt like they were designed to pique the interest of fans that are maybe a little bit more on the fringe of fandom, but at its heart, I still felt like this was an MCU-driven project. How did this feel for you as somebody who is maybe a little bit drawn to less common elements of the Marvel Universe canon?
I look at What If, and I know we keep seeing the praise of the Hell episode, but I think it's kind of the perfect example of a what if of asking a question. Granted, I don't like the question they asked, but the actual story of it being, what if Hela chose a different path? I think, to your credit, tying in the MCU, I thought Cate Blanchett was a great Hela. We're never going to see Cate Blanchett in the MCU proper. Very, very likely we're probably not going to see that character of Hela ever again. And that's fine. She was in for the one movie. That was her role. That was the purpose of that character. But bringing her back and then giving us this story of Hela and getting a peek at, oh, what if Hela really was just really needed to listen to the song "Oh Father"? You know.
God damn it, Jonah.
Am I wrong? No. But
Is he ever?
But I look at that episode as a reflection of the first Thor movie and how they kind of mirrors that story, but just changes a little bit about it because it fits the character of Hela better. I think What If works really well and best when the question itself is interesting enough to look at the universe, but as in terms of an animated TV show, it should be a self-contained episode within those 22 to 30 minutes, and then give enough pique and interest where somebody, writes their fan fiction, comes up with these theories of, oh, it'd be cool to see more, as opposed to kind of saying, don't you find this interesting? Well, if you do, 8 more episodes are coming out in 10 years. No, I don't. I'd rather don't tell me it's going to be something special. Let me feel like it's supposed to be something special.
Jonah, you really nailed it because, for one, I don't care about Thor and why Thor becomes worthy. I cried at this Hela episode because how she becomes merciful, her version of worthy, is heartbreakingly beautiful, and how she confronts her father and how she becomes, the White Phoenix of the Crown, Hela. We're doing this in less than 30 minutes. Are you kidding me? How it marries together Wenwu's original intention to be a good, all of it so on point, and there really is that feeling of exactly what you said, like, go forth and dream about this, but no, we're not going to redo the Thor movies with Hela. But because What If is kind of telling you all around as a concept, like, if you're enthusiastic enough, you never know what we might do for you. You're in this weird caught between a rock and a hard place situation where you're like, okay, you just served up the perfect half-hour episode of television that was just heartbreakingly beautiful and we could leave alone forever, in the grander context of a medium that feels constantly like it's telling me that if I do the street work, if I, get the fans together and beg, then we can cheapen this idea and turn it into a really great video game.
Kevin, what you got for us?
Well, and I appreciate you kicking it to me, because I want to say, in that regard, then, how do we feel about overall the so far handling of the character who has gotten the absolute most out of this whole What If deal, Captain Carter and her episode sequel? I mean, just the amount of focus she got in general. She was in the Peter Quill episode, wasn't she? As like a different Captain Carter who had survived through time. It was so long ago now, I don't remember. But it wasn't our Peggy, right? Like, our Peggy was still a different Peggy.
Yes.
I didn't really love this sequel. I was kind of let down after having waited 2 years. I thought this dynamic between this Peggy and Steve was so cute. I thought this Steve was so interesting. And then just sort of everything about this episode I kind of felt was I don't know. And it's always so fascinating to me when they get amazing actors back for roles. Like they got Black Widow's mom, Rachel Weisz, back in the role of her character. And so that's amazing. But it was such a weird thing to marry with the concept of Captain Carter. It was a weird way to end the episode. So how do we feel overall about the legacy character we do have so far?
To bring it back to your point, I think this was supposed to be a response to, Winter Soldier. This was essentially Peggy Carter's Winter Soldier. The person from her past is found out to be brainwashed and part of this villainous thing. And in the end, she appeals to their inner sense and they save the day through sacrifice, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if it really worked in Winter Soldier because I didn't really like that one. And I don't know if it works here because even though Peggy and Steve, the concept on paper is similar, the relationship between Peggy and Steve is different than between Steve and Bucky. It's not the same thing. It's not the same loss. So it's weird to try to map it 1-to-1 while also tying in the Red Room. I thought was a little bit weird. Not to say that Hydra and the Red Room can't work together. That makes sense to me that they maybe work 1-on-1. Sure, whatever. It just felt they didn't really understand what would have made Winter Soldier work for the MCU. I don't think the Hydra Stomper is the same thing because it's not the same loss. So you can't really map that experience to those characters and expect the same result.
Yeah. And I also, just to back up what you're saying, Jonah, I think part of what they were trying to do here was say, well, you can't get Cap anywhere else. So we can overdo the Cap here. Because outside of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then ultimately Cap 4, there's no Cap on the schedule in these two phases, so we've got your Cap covered. Whether it's an inundation of Peggy, or it's interpolating in other characters like Young Steve, who the actor who does Young Steve does an incredible job. But unfortunately, he does not sound quite like adult Steve in the 1602 episode. It's a little jarring, right?
Yep.
It feels like in an effort to remind us, oh, Cap is everywhere. They try to conflate multiple stories like, Hydra Stomper Steve with Winter Soldier. And unfortunately, I have to agree with Jonah. I do not think the trade is 1-for-1.
Yeah, it was really funny. When you asked the question, I was like, no, it was a really great episode, the way she went through the multiverse and stopped Stephen Strange. I had completely forgotten about this episode, about this actual sequel to Captain Carter, because it became Peggy's story as the protagonist of What If became such a serial journey. This one is almost kind of the isolated incident because what she's doing multiversally is really the bigger story. But I agree with what everybody's saying. I'm still I felt that a really good gimme that didn't have to give us the mutants, but would have given us something that would have bridged the gap that has to happen eventually anyway, would have been the Captain Britain Corps, of which she is wearing the regalia. And, that she's still Captain Carter, the British captain, when we have a group of British captains that are a huge part of the Marvel multiverse. I love that she's Captain Carter. I love that that's a brand and an identity that is not Captain America, but girl. But there is a thing that you could have done here. And again, it doesn't have to give us the mutants. There's a bunch of stuff it doesn't have to do, but that it could have done to sort of give me the impression that Marvel isn't so terrified of stepping outside of this very narrow chute that they put themselves in. You guys own all of it anyway. It's all your property. Do whatever you want. And that's another thing where I'm like, make this cheaper, churn it out more. don't be so precious about it that you waste your own ideas. This is, Namor is another one where I'm just like, you made this amazing character and I miss him. Why can't we do him? So it's it's weird. To the original question, I didn't care at all about this episode really, but I really did for the most part enjoy Peggy's universe hopping journey. I just, the larger idea of if it works and if it's sustainable for the show What If, question mark, but I really did like the story. I love seeing her in 1602. I love that, that picks up into the final episode. There was a bunch of fun to be had.
I will say that the parts of me that were disappointed in the follow-up on the story with Steve was intrigued by the chemistry between these two female characters that I felt had a very strong vibe. So that was definitely, it was interesting.
I love Lake Bell doing that voice work too.
She does a pretty good job.
And she's probably my least favorite replacement. I don't think she's bad.
How dare you?
I just don't think she fits the same character, which is really
a little too chill.
Yeah, she does a really cool other version, but looking for the same thing because it's meant.
You're right. My problem is I really hate Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson has it hard. She's constantly getting ejected out of the color purple. Black woman.
But the other when you started, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
When you were asking, when you were saying like the character who got the most out of this What If series, I thought you were going to be talking about Kahhori because I think that is who is that's who I saw get the biggest
season for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Out of What If as a whole, you're absolutely right. It's Peggy. But I think this is a character. I mean, the response in my little echo chamber at the very least was so positive and so excited. And this really did feel like the episode with the most heart and energy behind it and the most we're actually doing something here. And I don't know what's going to happen here. I think it'll probably end up being underwhelming, not for any creator's part, but just because, again, this thing that we're talking about, Marvel just has some trouble sticking their necks out for their own stuff. But in this moment, at this, it felt like they stuck their necks out to make this episode and that it was a smart thing to do. It was a beautiful thing to do. They created a fantastic character and that I was really excited for the idea that they might stick their necks out for her again. I don't think they will, but I live in hope that they will.
And I wasn't expecting the amount of focus and amazing opportunity for her to shine in the finale, but yes. I really appreciated it. Knowing that this is What If, and so people could die, Linda. I, waited with bated breath, being like, I can see why killing someone is a good idea in a superhero story, but please don't. And so I was really glad that didn't happen. Because, one of the things I also try to balance my expectations on this with is, it's animated. It's for kids. And so, they do keep it a little bit light in that regard, and I appreciate that. How do we feel about this finale essentially being what a lot of our expectations were for Multiverse of Madness and what our expectations are for Secret Wars, Secret Invasion, all the secret extravaganza? Because it was pretty big.
I thought it was a really fun finale. I think it's kind of self-contained. I don't think this necessarily feels like it plays into the stuff coming. This feels more like a multiverse statement on the original finale than it feels like an early interpretation of the next finale for me. I loved it, but it was an ending, not a beginning.
I like that.
Jonah, what you got?
I enjoyed it. I always love a good monster release sequence where there's things are held in captivity and you just let them all loose and see what happens. Thought that was fun. I I would have enjoyed if this maybe even a lot more had Captain Carter not had, 2 episodes that were central and spotlight to her beforehand. Like if you got rid of 1602 and you got rid of the Hydra Stomper episode and you just gave this as the finale, and there's other circumstance why, Doctor Strange goes to Peggy Carter, I think I maybe would have enjoyed it a lot more, because as we talked about, the highlight focusing so much on her, I think just doesn't fit with the idea of what if. That being said, taking all that out, I really did enjoy this episode. But the fight sequences were great. Animation was beautiful. The coloring was beautiful. Everything about this episode works as this idea of a finale for a series that really shouldn't be episodic and that shouldn't be serial and a little bit more episodic. But I did enjoy, essentially, what if Doctor Strange was too overcome with his grief?
I would have loved that episode as a separate thing. Because I was kind of rolling my eyes a bunch at this one until he, says like, I really can't control, my grief is too great, I can't control this. And then it becomes a whole other thing. And I wanted to see that episode. I sort of, to Kevo, your question before, I sort of wish this had been Kang. Because one, that doesn't have to be Jonathan Majors. They could have gotten anybody to voice that. Probably would have set some good precedents in terms of, not needing it to be Jonathan Majors. But I liked this concept, and also introducing the Forge, which kind of has references to the World Forge, but we're setting that aside for another time. I liked the concept. I liked seeing the cabin in the woods-esque, all of the monsters have been released. There's a lot of crowd pleasers and fan favorites here. But I leave this being like, okay, so what now? To Nico's point that this is an end, you are correct. That was what was produced. But I've just seen the clip from season 3 that's definitely happening. So what are we doing next? And can we transition into a third season that acknowledges that this was an end? This season finale was an end to a particular story. So season 3 will pick up a new set of stories, or is it going to be more of the same, like, hey, we've got some references from the stuff that you remember, so don't worry, we'll always bring back that Chernabog inside Stephen Strange when we need him.
I need this to be the end of Evil Strange. You bring him back again at all, and
I thought one of the smartest things they could have done was to have brought in the MCU Stephen Strange, just to acknowledge that. I know it's difficult to even conceive of, but like,
but I'm with you. No, I'm with you.
Just acknowledge that this is, because we're supposed to be doing something here. What they did that kind of bought it back for me was take Peggy to Loki's World Tree. That was I really wondered if that scene was added very last minute. But I think
originally it was that crystalline thing again, and then they added the World Tree once the World Tree had been released. I agree.
But I thought that was very cool. I liked that. Even still, I don't want to go back to this. I really like the idea that this was a capstone, but I really was happy to see some acknowledgement that, this is actually a multiverse in which we will see crossover from time to time. Some acknowledgement that our guys that we see in our stupid little movies have some knowledge of the fact that there's a world in which there's just like a room full of Thanoses running around.
I'm sorry, Kibby.
I really like this comment from Tori. I get the feeling that this is actually a time capsule of where they felt the MCU was 2 years ago, and so we couldn't have Kang yet. And I think that speaks to a lot of the things that are done and that were done with this run of episodes, season 1 and 2. I really see that, and I think it's an excellent point. I think my biggest disappointment with this episode, and just with a lot of the what ifs in general, I didn't love this Doctor Strange turning evil, especially after so much of the, positive, uplifting season finale of season 1 is supposed to be hinging on us loving this character. And, not to be naive or say that stories like that can't ever happen, but especially when there's only 18 episodes of this show so far, to already pull that with a character who was one of our big heroes of season 1, that was kind of a lot for me to swallow.
I don't disagree. Jonah, what are your final thoughts on What If Season 2? How did you feel in the season overall?
Great art, beautiful art, coloring was amazing. Probably one of the single best episodes in the Hela episode, as well as the Kahhori episode. Both, I think, back to back were truly gave us everything we could ever want, and I think really kind of captured the spirit of What If. Everything about actual quality of animation, love. Production and story choices are where I think I maybe have a little bit of problems with, but overall, still a very enjoyable season.
I agree with everything kind of all of you are saying. I think my only problem is if Stephen Strange had met this Stephen Strange and did not, if our Stephen Strange had met this Strange and did not either continue to chase him or beat him, we will ultimately would have been like, what a humongous question mark. What the hell is wrong with our Strange? And so it would have either made our Strange an uber god or made him feel irresponsible to the audience. And I mean this with love, but for a team that is currently having trouble keeping the rules of incursions clean, I just don't think they have the ability to juggle that many things. So while I'm walking away with a solid B for season 2 compared to my B- for season 1, it's because going for better than a B would have resulted in a D.
I believe you mean Uber God.
Ooh, oh no, Cthulhu, stop eating California.
Teak.
I do think you are right, but I if we were in a writer's room, I would be like, no, after Multiverse of Madness, we established that Steven is terrible at his job. And that's why this actually works and is a great idea. I still think probably the producers would have said that you had the correct thinking about it. But again, that's my go a little wild, color outside the lines, do something that doesn't seem very smart, take some risks. I'm getting a little tired of Marvel not taking risks. And as Tori pointed out, our Strange is busy with Charlize Theron. I wouldn't leave her to chase on an evil me either. I would have brought her in too. I think the two of them showing up to fight
her cornrows and Fast and Furious.
Yes.
No, we switched to severe lesbian haircut.
But we have to go back and fight them. We have to use the time stone.
We have to go back.
What if those two went to acquire the Fast Force and the Furious Force? How's that for a what if?
Now we've got it.
There you go.
Forge.
See, welcome to our writer's room. We're set. This is a B for me. And Nico, I think you're right. If they had really tried to do better, we would have hit diminishing returns and probably started to backtrack. I kind of wish they tried to do worse. That's my whole point. Make shittier episodes, but make more of them. How do 24 episodes of The Simpsons a year get produced, but this is just too complicated for us to do 10. I don't know how things work, so I can't really say that that's not how things should be, but I just felt like for all that I loved what I got, I could see so many places to take the risks and play around a little more. I think the biggest risk they took was with Kahhori. For me, that paid off. I am really excited that we're going to see Devery Jacobs, who voiced Kahhori in Echo, not playing Kahhori, but playing another character. But I'm hoping that means that, like Iman Vellani, this is a young woman who is not a young white woman that is going to be special to the MCU and, maybe even to comics at some point. But man, we racked up some really fantastic indigenous characters this year, and it's getting to a point where I'm seeing team potential. I'm seeing a great writers room for, you know, comics and other media to pull all these characters together. To me, that's really special. And if I didn't super care for Marvel Cart, that's okay. On balance, I'll take the really great stuff.
Keva, what are your final thoughts on What If, and how do you feel about season 3?
I really echo a lot of everyone else's sentiments about this season of What If. I think this definitely trended upward for me from season 1. And I am I visually watched the clip. I didn't watch it with audio, so I have no idea what the hell is even going on in the clip for season 3. Um, but I'm excited for it to hopefully happen in the offing if it can. Sorry, I was just trying to look something up before I asked. But
Kevin, I'll tell you this. The guy driving the car was young Red Guardian, not voiced by David Harbour. Driving with Bucky probably in the 80s. And that's Fury with them. So he's got this really, boisterous Russian accent. And then when they get stopped, he switches on a dime to what actually, this is the one part I didn't like. It's kind of a bad American accent when we establish that their accents are all perfect. But then it's just the chase scene. But it's a funny, cute scene.
And, that's all this show really needs to be, is just funny, fun, cute, keep us engaged in between movies. That's all it needs to be. Leave the heavy lifting to the live action shows, man.
And one of the big things that I think is so important about thinking about the nature of live action and sort of the growth of fandom and media representation is What If represents a second avenue for the Marvel Cinematic Universe's foray into television. We have the live action shows, we have this animated show, as well as sort of like secondary animated programming. There sort of seems to always be like a Disney Plus kids show on at any given time. At this point, I'm pretty sure it's something like Justin Hammer's Hammer Squad or whatever. But there's always some kind of, animated show out. One of the things that I think is so significant is that we have same world, with Pokemon making a jump from simply just sort of the American representation of the anime into Pokemon Concierge. One of the things that I was most surprised by is this show literally ends with it's how to lose a guy in 10 days or whatever. It literally starts very data girl, very broken up. Oh no, got job. Girl got job problems. Get new job. It really started like it could have starred Renee Zellweger. First of all, I was way too excited about this, and then it was great.
The intro thing where she's like, I got dumped, my job sucks. I was like, this is very adult for a claymation Pokemon show. But man, it's fun. Oh Lord. The slice of life aspect of it, it feels like slice of life is still such a incomprehensible thing to people. And I just thought this was the perfect thing to me. I didn't really, when we decided we were going to watch it for the show, I was kind of like, I'll put it on in the background, but I don't know if I can do a Pokemon adventure right now. And just that the conflict is how do I relax during the day?
Girl, same.
Exactly.
So what I really loved about Pokemon Concierge, one, the stop motion animation is absolutely gorgeous. It's fun. It's cute. It's everything you could want out of something that's meant to be lighter, slice of life. But the Pokemon main series, whether it's the game or the anime, don't often look at the day-to-day life of Pokemon and the world around it. And I think that's much more something that is a little bit underutilized and underexplored, because a lot of the game and the formula of the game, because the formula works, is all about battling, and it's your adventure, and you taking on the gym leaders or the trials, and you taking on the Elite Four, or and you taking down the champion, you become the champion of the region, because that's what everybody's dream is in all these worlds, and that's fine. It's the formula that works. Blah 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 blah. And the anime, follows Ash, or now our new protagonist that we got with this current season of Pokemon. It's all kind of the same journey. But this was, what if we just looked at a Pokemon resort? That's a resort for both people and their Pokemon. And that kind of just seeing Pokemon and people in this environment interacting with one another, relaxed, being, friendly. There's not this idea of battling. There isn't this idea of conquering. Mm-hmm. None of that. It's just, the everyday life of Pokemon in this, tropical, serene environment. And it's what I really loved, because we as fans often are left to kind of really speculate a lot more on our own on the casualness of Pokemon. Because in this universe, there are people who just probably own Pokemon casually. While yes, they are battling, creatures and monsters, they're also still kind of pets. And I like seeing people interact with them. Like the Pokemon Metagross, which is this very, this super analytical, literally a supercomputer that's this menacing metal monster being adorable and having a kid play on it. That kind of juxtaposition made me happy.
Yeah, I mean, I really felt the same way. I'm not the biggest Pokemon person, primarily because I don't love the JRPG format for battling. But I'm very impressed with how Pokemon kind of turned that into the entire story of why Pokemon exists. I really even though I know a lot about the franchise and I've engaged with it every time, I've never finished a game because I just can't sit through JRPG battles until Arceus. Because Arceus, the battle system was different and it worked for my style of play. And this, not in the same way, but this just really spoke to a different way to experience Pokemon and to look at the world as a whole. And for me, it was really gratifying as somebody who, like I said, knows a lot, but isn't super engaged in the world of the anime or the world of the games, because I just don't have the focus that the games have really put on everything. It was so much fun. I feel like now, my biggest thing is oh yeah, if I worked there, I would have a side. I also have to say, as somebody who works in hospitality, this is my dream job.
I long was obsessed with Psyduck. I have migraines. I kind of waddle. I love Psyduck.
Latent psychic powers. This is all me. This is all very true. I am such a big Psyduck fan. And one of the things that I think is so cool about this anime that it provided for me as a viewer was an idea of perhaps what we all are to this Pokemon world. Until I had a dog, I didn't really understand what it was like to have 90 pounds jump on you. that doesn't maybe have some understanding of humanity. Even when a small child charges at you, it's a kid, but it still has some idea. And even if it goes at you full force, it has a sense of physical self-preservation. A child does not want to slam its head. It will try to protect its head at some point, an animal just runs full force till it crushes its head. And so taking care of a very silly dog like I do, I've kind of learned the adorable ways that animals are silly and you don't realize their physicality. Something I loved was getting to see these animals behave like little people, these Pokemon. They really represented physicalities that made them seem realer to me. It's one thing to imagine the way a Psyduck might move, but to see a felt Psyduck move is physically transformational of the identity.
And I think it's also really important to see how a Psyduck will sit in the basket of a scooter and just go wah 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 wah. That's all I have to say.
You know, Kevo, how did you feel about Pokemon Concierge?
You know, I am someone who was only ever around for the like first generation plus of Pokemon. I knew some of the ones after the 151, but not a lot. And I haven't known any Pokemon in hundreds and hundreds of Pokemon. And so it's just something that I sort of enjoy tangentially. But you know, I was excited when I saw this because it's such a fascinating art medium. It's such a fascinating concept. I found myself incredibly disappointed by how short it was because it really was so wonderful and light and fun, and so I'm excited about the idea. I really hope that there's more because it was really so sweet. The lead performer is the voice of Glimmer from the She-Ra animated series from Netflix. So great to see her getting work. I always love stuff like that. But yeah, I was just super on board, super excited. Wish there had been more.
Yeah, 4 episodes across 1 hour really felt a little disappointing. But to find out, as Jonah pointed out and Kevo corroborated, these are puppets, man. This is stop motion. This is painstaking.
Oh, yeah.
And it is loving in an art form. Everything looks so good, so honest, so real. It makes me wonder if some of these Pokemon were chosen for the ability to make them or the counterintuitive ability to make them, like a Lampent. That's like really, oh, wow. But maybe, you know, maybe Dragonite looks like a big dragon. So, did anybody have any final thoughts on Pokemon Concierge, a show that I recommend plopping down an hour and evolving yourself to, along with this amazing cast of characters?
I really recommend this, even if you're not the most familiar with Pokemon. If you kind of just want a feel-good show that just kind of looks at, you know, every now and then it's okay to relax and do what you love. It's really, really adorable, really sweet. It has a very heartwarming message and very quick to watch. It, like Nico said, it fills an hour. And if somehow this makes it to the Pokemon Company anyway, I would love for Pokemon to do more of, as TK said, the slice of life, building upon this world of Pokemon in a way that doesn't focus on the battles of just kind of picking up and looking at a city or a place and just seeing how we as people interact with the Pokemon, how they fit into our everyday lives.
I love it.
Yeah, I Nico, the way you put it, I know you're just kind of being like wordplay-y because Pokemon evolve, but like if you are still somebody who does not get into slow, cozy, slice of life television, this is, I think if you don't like this, if you kind of can't get into this, maybe it's just never going to happen for you. Like I said at the start of this, I don't understand how this isn't like the most popular genre. I feel like I see so many people talking about, what's the best cozy game you can play for your Switch? Like, I feel like this is something people actually are clamoring for. It's just, as a genre, it is only really coming up now, but, you know, for anime fans, I mean, like, I feel like the earliest thing that and there are things before this, but this was mine, the earliest, like, slice of life thing for me was Mushishi, which is like a 20-year-old anime at this point. This is a genre that it comes up a lot in manga, it comes up a lot in anime, and I think the American wisdom of like conflict needs to be world ending, life shattering, where it really can just be, I do not know how to relax. I do not know what my job is. I'm doing my job and I have a task that is a little bit difficult, like teaching a Pikachu how to find its voice. To me, this is just a lot of fun. These are stories that I always want told. I wish more, we talked when we were doing exclusively comics all the time about how we just wanted Krakoa slice of life stories. And I would like Marvel slice of life stories. I just think this is a genre with so much potential, and this show will take you from, even if you just know the general idea that Pokemon is a thing that exists and that they're like weird animal creatures, if that's all you know, sit down, spend an hour, relax and watch this, and A, you'll know everything that you need to know about Pokemon, but B, you'll just have a lovely time.
And I think something that's important about this show as well is, that's why I even pointed out, I don't know a lot of the latest generations of Pokemon. But I think Pokemon has been around for like 25 years now, and I think most people have enough of a general idea of what Pokemon are, that this is something that anyone can come to fresh and enjoy. And maybe you'll discover a new love of Pokemon that you didn't know that you could have had. So I definitely think this is something that's good for anyone to try.
And I am really excited to see if Netflix and the Pokemon Company come together to make another season of Pokemon Concierge, a show I just can't recommend enough. But, from this group of shows that we loved so much to just a couple of quick animation recommendations to close out 2023, I asked Kevo to sit down with me and watch Merry Little Batman. And it was just 90 minutes of Damian Wayne adorableness. Is it any Bat universe you know? No. It's a silly random holiday universe, but Amazon Prime was so proud of this little movie that they've commissioned a show about it that's going to focus on the whole Bat family. It's probably a little bit closer to Family Guy style random pop culture asides than it is like a traditional Batman show, but it's just a magic, silly little horrifying nightmare of a cartoon. It's just got that great Herman Mann kind of vibe, and I love it.
If I had to compare it to something modern, I imagine it's probably comparable to like Gumball or like Flapjack, those types of shows for kids today. But for me, the thing it most reminded me of was Powerpuff Girls style animation and comedy in a really positive, fun way. This interpretation of the Joker, played by Rickety Cricket from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, was hilarious. And, it was just light fun. It starts with the idea of Batman knew his son was coming, so he cleaned up all crime in Gotham. And now there's been no crime for the last 8 years. What a ludicrous idea, obviously. But it's just supposed to be a cute, fun, sweet thing where they can do random asides, like Joker kind of just wants to be friends with Batman. We joke about stuff like that all the time, and I love seeing a place where something like that can be played out well.
Is that Damien?
Yeah.
And he is not white.
No.
That is so great. That's probably the greatest thing so far about this show.
Not in Performer either.
Oh, good. That's a criticism of the comic character, who is often drawn as Alabaster.
But he even makes a wonderful reference to his flawless, unimpeachable evil mother.
Yeah, she is those three things.
Awful, flawless, and
unimpeachable, evil.
Yeah, those are the three things that make Al Ghul perfect.
Yep.
Gatekeep, girl boss, gaslight.
Yes.
I did not watch this, and it was a conscious choice at a certain point because I was Christmasing very hard this year, and I didn't want to. I wanted to save a little Christmas for next year, so I have this on my Christmas playlist for next year, and I'm very excited.
Good. It's something to look forward to for sure. I think you'll really enjoy it.
It looks fantastic. I'm stoked.
And I'm excited to start the season when it kicks off sometime in late 2024, according to reports. Now,
I love reports.
I love reports, right? Especially when they're by Vicky Vale, who was in this and was an incredible woman of color and made my heart sing. So really excited. Could not recommend this enough. Oh, the only thing I will say is going into it, Poison Ivy is evil Poison Ivy.
Oh, give her
That's
her life.
fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But they have the other one on a different show on a different network. So
She's pretty evil in that one too. She's just a lesbian that's
I don't
evil.
have any answers.
But again, like, we're talking about two shows that do exactly the thing that I would wish Marvel would do, which is take some risks, go weird with it, do a weird little Batman with a giant chin and a beard. Take your two most popular lesbian characters and give them a 4-season romance. Like, do it. Don't just give me the most sanitized, safest version of the wackiest idea we could come up with for a what if story, please.
Now, I believe in addition, both Jonah and TK, you guys might have a couple of shows you just want to say one or two things about as we close out this animation-filled episode, one of the last episodes of 2023.
Yeah. Go ahead, JoJo.
Oh, yay. Okay. So let's take it to an anime corner. And my favorite anime of 2023 is that came out very recently in October is the Apothecary Diaries. This has probably been on a lot of people's radar going into the anime season of, into the fall into the winter. I am here to say, if you have not started this, maybe you heard about it, maybe you've seen it on Crunchyroll, whatever your method of watching or your anime consumption, this show is it. It is really, really good, really beautiful art, really interesting characters. The concept is our main character to the girl to the forefront, Mao Mao, is a daughter of an apothecary, and she knows all about poisons and medicines. And this takes place in Imperial China, in a fantasy Imperial China, not an actual period. Everything's fictitious. They have to put that disclaimer. And she's obsessed with poison. She poisons herself. She's given herself a resistance to poison. And it's kind of her surviving in this world and kind of essentially her being a lot smarter than a lot of the people around her in terms of just knowledge and how things work. She's a very intuitive, smart character, and she's just fascinating to watch and see her interact with the world around her. If you are a fan of anime, if you want something that's engaging, interesting, with also beautiful animation, cannot recommend this enough.
I'm stoked. I will definitely watch it.
Nice.
How many episodes?
So it's currently airing. Total it'll be 24.
Oh, nice. Are you watching it?
What?
Like ever or this season?
This season.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll get another season or not. I don't know how long the manga goes, so I don't know if they're gonna just follow strictly the manga. I don't know if they'll do their own thing. But yeah.
Are you watching it subbed or dubbed?
I am watching it subbed.
Okay.
But I also imagine it also has a very wonderful English cast if you are into dubs.
I'm into dubs because I cannot read.
That's fair.
Okay, Leah.
So, Ms. Michelle, you are a very funny girl, but I believe your top animation show was less funny.
It was at times quite amusing, and at other times it was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. Everybody has heard about Scavenger's Reign, the alien eco-punk biological dream nightmare that came out on Max. This is an incredible show. I couldn't even begin to do it justice. I would happily do 1 to 4 hours commentary on each episode. But it is, about a crew crash landed on a planet that has an incredibly complex ecology that they are interacting with in weird and different ways. Phenomenal cast of voice actors, including the woman who plays B-15 from Loki, maybe Funke from Arrested Development, other people that have been in things. It's beautiful. It's scary. It's heartbreaking. The animation is fantastic. The music is fantastic. It's also short. It's only like 10 episodes. It's 12 episodes. But they're half-hour episodes. I can't say enough good things about this, but I also could never really do it justice without just hours and hours to talk about it. But if you want to know the way to my heart, or if you just ever want to approach me online or in life, bring up this show and I will never shut up.
I wasn't necessarily feeling it at a weekly pace. This is something that I think now that it has a full batch, I would be very much more interested in finally getting through all of, because it was really, truly beautiful. A lot of heavy stuff, though.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I tend to get like anxiety when I have to wait, but I know there's more coming. And I know it's like impending.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think this is something I am super eager to get back to and check out. I think you and I are going to have a lot to say about this. So
I will definitely say that the last 2 weeks, when I had caught up, and then I had they released 3 episodes a week. You know, each Thursday they would release 3 episodes at a time. So I watched the first 6, and then, or I guess it was 2 episodes at a time. Sorry. So I'd watched the first 8, and then was waiting on the final 4. And those 2 weeks were very long, because it was just, it was very, very tense. But yeah, really fantastic show. I can't recommend it enough. This is one of those ones that, like, even if you are not into any of the things that I said, I think you should watch it, just because I don't think there's ever been a show like this that has done things the way that this show does them. And I think just like that lesson and seeing how this team put together this world, even things like the music is phenomenal. The soundtrack, the score is just fantastic. So yeah, it's great.
I thought it was a really beautiful, powerful show. I think it goes into a category of shows that I was recently talking about. X-Men Red is kind of like as a comic book. This isn't something you can casually watch. It kind of needs all of your attention. I tried watching it while sending text messages, and every 10 seconds, somebody's like, no, you literally missed the whole point of the episode. Look up. And like, it is a show that you literally cannot watch if you're literally doing anything else, because so much of it happens in the,
there's a lot of beautiful imagery and artistry showcase, and there's a lot of scenes that have no dialogue.
Yeah.
So you really do have to pay attention, and like, this does require your focus, but I do think it's worth it.
Yeah.
And, you know, that is a thing that I think a lot of media is asking us to kind of weigh a little bit more. And the ways in which they ask us to weigh it, you know, there are shows where every line of dialogue is a beautiful payoff. I think back to this season of Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. And one of the things I think about is how many lines in the musical were just truly tributes to lines that had come before, not just in Strange New Worlds, but in the multitude of Star Trek, and the ways in which those played into a fandom of 60 years being paid off in song. And then, you know, there's shows like Scavenger's Reign that just ask you to look up. And so shows ask you to pay attention in all sorts of ways. And we've really spent a year celebrating those shows.
I love that you brought up Star Trek, because I would not look up during Voyager or The Next Generation. I can throw those on in the background and be so happy.
Yes.
I cannot peel my eyes away from Strange New Worlds or Discovery. And I don't want to, because I want to take in every single moment, which is, you know, I think a different way of approaching Star Trek. And it does definitely take some getting used to. But I do think we are kind of having a reckoning in media with our ability to focus, and then what creatives are sort of saying, you know, I'm not going to give you a 24 episode season where you have to watch every single episode, but come on, you can watch a 12, right? You can sit for an hour once a week for 2 months, right?
Come on.
You got this.
Jingle on the keys. Jingle on the keys.
Yep. And more, yeah, absolutely. I will for a Scavenger's Reign. I will for a Strange New Worlds. And I think that's a really important, if I'm like, no, like, you know, Nico said we're covering this on the show, but I'm just putting it on in the background and I keep missing stuff because it's asking me to watch and I just don't have the focus. That is a sign to me that, like, that show, that's not for me.
Yeah, and I actually think that's kind of how I felt about Scavenger's Reign. I thought everything was beautiful, but the fact that if I literally looked down, I missed everything. It's almost like pressure.
Yeah. I knew it was not going to be a show for you.
It's just it's so much pressure that you can't look away, and it's almost like a different kind of pressure than you can't look away from, say, a Discovery. Because one of the things about Discovery is that it asks you to fill in the blanks yourself, whereas Scavenger's Reign really wants to tell you a very specific story. And I think that 2023 really was a year for diverse stories with really specific points of view. I think so much of what we talked about this past year were things that were born of a tumultuous pandemic that really allowed creatives to think about script. And I know we added a ton of animation to our slate this year. I mean, we added everything to our slate this year that wasn't a comic book. But, whether it was the unbelievable crew of the Cerritos on Lower Decks, or it was...
yeah.
Right? Or it was talking about the Solar Opposites team and that slate of animation. We really did take a wide look at animation as well as live action sci-fi. This was a really great topic for a penultimate broadcast of the year, because it gave us an opportunity to talk about Marvel, sci-fi, and even Pokemon this year, where we forayed into gaming with coverage of things like Zelda and the Final Fantasy series. And I'm just so grateful to have this opportunity to talk with you guys about a really successful year, culminating in a broadcast that makes me really proud of what we cover.
I mean, we still got tomorrow night to go.
Well, tomorrow afternoon, because it's New Year's Eve, so we're doing it a little early.
Excuse me.
Well, excuse me, princess.
Well, excuse me, Linz.
That's a Legend of Zelda show quote. That became famous.
I believe you.
So, how's everybody feeling about our penultimate broadcast? Anybody got any hopes for tomorrow's 31st broadcast?
I think we got it.
I think we got it.
Fucking lunatic.
I've never hoped in my life, and I never will again.
It shows. I don't know. I liked a lot of stuff we talked about. I am eager for 2024. Something that I snuck into the episode cover for myself because I didn't have anything animated for myself to throw in from 2023. But I'm excited for 2024 to see the return of this little animated ditty. Very fun little comedy. And, some people ask the question of, does Hollywood have any original ideas left? And I ask the question of, did they ever have any original ideas? Shut up.
Everything is somebody's recycled stuff that they didn't get to use, or fan fiction. There's no original ideas.
Unless you can name the fashion trend and the play that it came from that involved growing long sideburns in the early 1900s, I don't want to hear about the history of media from you. Some things deserve to come back, and some things deserve to die. And I'm excited for a lot of stuff we have in 2024. I don't know. I sort of lost my thread.
Well, no, I mean, you stated the most important part, which is like there really is nothing new under the sun. Everything is the same 32 stories.
So just make it the good ones, yeah.
And like whether you tell one of the 32 stories with characters that nobody has ever heard their names before, or you just pick ones that people have heard the names, that's a very academic difference. So we can all just let it go and enjoy the things you enjoy. And,
like Frozen 3.
Right, which is, based off of William Shakespeare's A Tale of Two Cities.
Right?
We made the exact same joke.
I cannot wait to come back and talk about William Shakespeare's epic classic, A Tale of Two Cities. And until then, Jonah, where can everybody find you on the interwebs?
Oh, that's perfect, because he was in the What If episode. You can find me on any social at Peak Jonah. That's Peak.
Can I tell you that when he said Will was writing a play, I thought he said Quill, and I was like, Peter Quill as Will Shakespeare in this universe? That
actually would have been
Sure.
amazing.
Oh,
Well, it
Also-
was amazing.
That's my dream. What if? If Quill.
Oh yeah.
That's not actually my dream. What if? I have to think about that. Can we go to you and then we come back?
I don't think I have one. I don't even know. We got such a great season. I just look forward to everything they're going to give us in season 3.
Mine is
Forgetting.
what if Namor from the MCU, not the other one, was also the king of the North Atlantic, and he had a vacation home in Maine, and he liked to kiss eligible innkeepers.
The casters who were big fans. That's not a what if.
That is my what if. That's the dream, and I would like it right now, please.
And I don't have anything silly so much as like I just want to see more what ifs with characters that like we know instead of full brand new universes. Give us characters that we know, and then give us a fun situation to see them handle. That's what I'm hoping for season 3 and for the future.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I also just wanted to point out to Nico that when he was talking about Kate Blanchett voicing Hela in her episode of What If, I asked if she was voicing Queen Elizabeth in 1602, and then Hela was Queen Elizabeth in 1602.
Wow, that's funny.
Anyway, progress.
Tori says, what if 1602 Loki had a stage manager named Tori? And they guess. So yours is the same as TK. Basically.
Yeah, Tori, you and I are on the same wavelength, girl.
And you can find them talking about it over on the socials at...
Yes, TK Elemental for me.
Oh, I have
Kevo really for me. Sure.
What if MJ and Spider-Man came to this universe to Staten Island and became my best friends?
Okay.
I love it. Jackpot.
And you guys can find me, Nico Action, online at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION. And until next time, we need you guys to do 3 things for us. Number 1, you got to stay safe. Number 2, be brave, evolve daily. And we're going to see you guys next time for our final broadcast of the year. So we will see you guys real soon.
I didn't give you the signal. I'm sorry.
It's cool.
It's the same every time.
This is the signal, folks. Bye.